Well, well, I guess we finally got an answer as to the changeling we saw far in the background during the Season 6 premiere, along with some strong themes about prejudice and how it can affect everyday people. We even got some added lore about changeling society. Truly, this episode is tackling a whole lot all at once. Unfortunately, I think that may be the biggest issue here, or at least one of them. But let's start from the beginning. Spike, along with Twilight and Starlight, are making their way over to the Crystal Empire, and we get an exposition dump. Exposition from Twilight, exposition from Starlight, a little exposition from Spike, and later on, even more exposition from Shining and Cadence. There's a few entertaining tidbits thrown in along the way, but really, much of these opening scenes are there to catch the audience up on anything they might have missed from previous episodes. On one hand, it feels rushed and not really that interesting for anyone who's already aware of past stories. On the other hand, what people really wanted to see from this episode is all about Thorax the Changeling and his interactions with Spike. So yeah, weighing the two options, it's probably better that we had the exposition dump and rushed right towards the meat of the episode, because Spike and Thorax are tackling the ever more complex issue of prejudice. This was touched upon way back in Season 1 with bridal gossip, but I find the conflict far more compelling here. Instead of just being afraid of the unknown, there's the invasion of Canterlot, which still weighs heavily on everyone's minds. It can be especially difficult to let go of prejudice when, especially for Cadence, Shining, and Twilight, you were personally affected by a prior interaction. But this story isn't really about them. What I find even more intriguing is that Spike had to choose between the hero everyone had built him up to be and the hero he realized he needed to be. This was a pretty good setup, considering how much Spike was risking his reputation and, more so, the confidence of those who believed in him by standing up for something controversial. Which is controversial for good reason. I really like both the setup and the conclusion the writers were going for here. I'm just hesitant to call the execution equally as engaging. Like I said, parts of this story felt rushed, like they were trying to do too much all at once and had to cut down some really effective development in order to drive home the moral. Prejudice is an immensely complex issue, and I have to say, I didn't feel the song was the best way to go about solving it. I understand the time constraints. I understand the desire to keep things simple and straightforward for a younger audience. And I did want Spike to have his chance for a solo piece. But admittedly, this felt more cringeworthy than inspiring. And maybe some of these feelings have to do with the fact that earlier this year, we had such a fantastic portrayal all about the complex issues of prejudice in the movie Zootopia, showing that, yes, you can keep the message both complex and understandable for both young and old audiences. So, admittedly, maybe I was hoping for something equally inspiring here, and there just wasn't enough time in a single episode to cover it effectively. If the writers are intending to keep this to a single story. However, if, say, this entry is in fact building up towards a return of Chrysalis and the rest of the changelings, and the conflict is addressed even further with far greater stakes involved, now we may have something truly worthwhile. Considering the flashback to Thorax's birth, which is both adorable and horrifying at the same time and is probably giving fanfic writers a lot more material to work with, I could very well see a Season 6 finale involving a return of the Changeling Swarm and a very intriguing plotline surrounding both Spike and Thorax in the middle of it all, both of whom may very well be the outsiders of their kind and can bring a very unique perspective the rest of their species lacks. There is an immense amount of potential here, and I sincerely hope the writers are going to take advantage of it. If not, then I can't help but feel that parts of this story seems like a waste. Lots of expository dialogue, along with some cute and clever moments thrown in. A rushed story without enough time to leave a lasting impact, but a new character who may one day become a fan favorite. A song which I suspect is going to leave audiences very split, which may one day lead to Spike's greatest moment in the entire series. A very mixed bag, that's for sure. But depending on whether there's any kind of follow-up, please writers, don't leave this story as is. In the meantime though, I would like to hear your thoughts. Given just how long we've been waiting for further development on Changeling Society, what are your impressions thus far? What do you think about Spike's need to be a hero in the eyes of others as part of the central conflict? Do you believe there is further potential which is perhaps hinting at a far grander story in the show's future? I would like to hear your thoughts on the times they are a changeling, and here's to hoping the MLP staff have much more in store later this season. I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Boulder, Boulder, where'd you run off to? There you are.